Greetings and welcome to Game Design. In this lesson, we're just going over a couple quick code.org lessons from Chapter 1, Lesson 1 and Lesson 2, showing you what you can do and then the very basics of how this works. So first off, we'll start off seeing these sample programs, talking about them, and then go into Lesson 2. So with that, if you're following along, click on Lesson 1 and you can see this is how GameLab works, right? It's just a square. As you'll go through this, we'll show you more stuff, but notice that top corner is 0, 0, and the bottom corner is 400, 400. Those are going to be key piece of information as we go through this. But let's go first off. Let's run this app, right? That's how you run all the apps. Another thing to notice, you'll see in the bottom below reset, as I move my cursor around, you'll see the numbers changing. It's showing you where your cursor point is. But let's go ahead, click on something, and see what happens when you do it, right? So I can't click and drag the icons, but I can click and drag the colors. And notice it goes over. So these are some of the features that you'll get to know as we go through this course. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on that one. It's just kind of showing you what you can do. We'll click finish, move on to the next one. Not a lot happens in this one. I'll make it a little larger. But now you notice that we've had music and words and also animation, right? Again, as we go through this course, you'll see more and more of that. In fact, just in this next one, we'll see it as well. All right, so this one is the first one you can actually do something in. In this case, you can read the directions, you use left and right keys, and the space makes you fly. Now there's a lot going on here. I'm not going to explain it all. We'll learn stuff like this. You can see though as you go, you can grab score by this. And as you hold the space button, it goes up. If you don't hold it, you just fall. You can also notice you can lose yourself really quickly, and you can land on these objects. So as you're thinking about what game you want to program for this course, think about this one and the one we're going to watch in a second. Those are abilities that you'll have by the end of this. Now you'll be able to make slightly more complicated than this. You could probably have levels and whatnot. But for now, as we go through, realize that it's going to take us a few weeks to even get it to do this. We need to understand a lot about programming and how GameLab works in order to even get to this point. So it leads us to our last one. And in this one, this is probably very similar to a lot of students I've taught before do for this, is you have a simple animation, you hit space to jump, you have objects to run into, objects to collect, you have health and rules. So in this case, you can't actually collect any food until you collect a bowl. So again, there's game logic in here. You lose items if you don't actually, or if you hit any of the enemies. You can see it's random when it gives you the bowl. I haven't got a bowl yet. But these are items that you'll be able to do when you're done, right? You can make stuff look like it's moving. You can have objects appear. You can move the screen, or at least make it appear like the screen is moving. But I want to temper the expectations of what's going to happen over the next few weeks, right? We're not going to learn to program any crazy games, but games like this. So you can say I finally got to my bowl, and now I have the points at the top, and I can collect each of them. And depending on what enemy I get hit by, I will lose my items. So these are just things I wanted to show you on what you'll be able to do. So when you're thinking about your game, realize you're not going to program the original Mario probably by the end of this class. But maybe a Mario-like game where he throws barrels at you, something throws barrels at you and you jump over it and you can score and win and lose and stuff like that. So that's all there is to lesson 1, right? Is just kind of going through, seeing what you can do with it, understanding the XY coordinates. And this last piece, lesson 2, is going to show us a couple things about this. Again, this also doesn't have any coding in here yet, just showing you what apps can do. But I want to point out a couple things in this one. When you click on the square, notice where your cursor is on that square. That's important, right? It's in that top left corner. When I do a circle, which we'll come to learn this is an ellipse and the other one's a rectangle, but notice it's at the center of it. So this will be important when you're going to place it, right? If I want to place it in the middle, you can see in the bottom, down bottom XY, I'm almost at 200, 200, which is the center of the object, right? So I'll just put it there. And if I put this at 200, 200, right? That's an important concept we need to understand when we're doing this. These don't look like they're doing anything, but they are changing the colors of what you're dropping. So when you're building, designing, you really need to understand the coordinate locations of this. It's probably the biggest thing you take away from this first lesson, other than the fact of what you're going to be capable of doing. So kind of get those expectations right, realizing it's going to take a little bit for us to get there. So with that, that's all I have. We'll see you next lesson.